for just a limited time, and students can join for $20. So be sure to take advantage of that savings by visiting our website. And again, I'll put information in the chat here shortly. Now, I'd like to take a minute to thank our board members, Christy Baccardo Groves, Michelle Eccles, and Shelley Tulo, for setting up great programs for us. They are amazing professionals and work so hard to bring us interesting presentations. So thank you to all three of you. I believe Christy is the only one here today, so big shout out to Christy. So thank you so much for joining our program, and I'll turn it over to Christy to introduce today's presentators. Christy?
Thank you. Hey everyone, I'm so happy to be here today and to see you all. It's such an interesting topic for our field. And I wanted to share a couple things with you real quick before I introduce our speakers. One is that the promotions for this event were driven by AI. So we thought this would be the perfect thing to experiment with, right? So we asked AI, we told AI who our audience was and what the general topic was, and we let AI suggest like 5 questions that you would want to have answered during this session. We asked AI for an outline and a description of the webinar that we could use on the website. We asked AI to write several different social media posts with hashtags and email announcements. We just thought it would be a great experiment, and over 50 of you signed up, so we think it was pretty successful. Second, I'm really excited with our speakers today because I met Ray Schroeder back when I was working on my master's degree at UIS, and he was the head of OTEL, the Office of Technology Enhanced Learning. And not only was I lucky to have him as my professor, but he served on my master's degree committee. And the word I would use to describe Ray ever since I've known him, and Catherine really said it best when we were chatting, is that he's generous. He's so generous with his talents, his time, and his vast knowledge. And now Catherine is collaborating closely with Ray and joining his lead, and they are both so generous to be with us here today. Ray is a national leader in online learning, a professor emeritus of communication at University of Illinois Springfield. He was recently awarded an honorary doctorate there. He's a senior fellow at UPCEA, the Online Professional Education Association, and he was recently presented the Leadership Award for Lifetime Achievement in Digital Learning. So we're so lucky to have Ray here. He's a trailblazer in online learning, and most recently, artificial intelligence and how to use it in education. His work has made a significant contribution in the field of AI, how it can revolutionize teaching and learning and improve lives. His expertise and influence continue to shape the future of education and emerging technologies. And Catherine is an accomplished marketing, communications, and product leader with over 20 years experience. She works at her alma mater, Loyola University Chicago. They're so lucky to have her back as a project manager on the enterprise marketing and communications team. She crafts and implements plans to get strategic goals accomplished through product development, marketing, partnerships, and nailing operational excellence with a proven track record of advancing digital transformation. So without any further ado, let's turn it over to Ray and Catherine. Can't wait.
Thank you so much, Christy. And you know, it's really exciting for me to connect with some of you whom I haven't seen in quite a number of years. A word more about Catherine, who is a dynamic leader. We both began about a year ago to delve into this from Chicago to, well, I'm actually in Riverton, but just outside of Springfield, those of you in the central Illinois area, to delve into the developments and follow day by day the incredible movement of artificial intelligence, particularly Gen AI, generative AI at this point. And we just co-authored, I think it came out last week, a lengthy article in the European Business Review. We have some other research, and we do these kinds of Zooms every couple of weeks. So I'm just so delighted to be here now. I'm going to start off, so I'll wait, Catherine, and to hand it off to you in perhaps 15 or 20 minutes. Let me begin by doing the share screen. There we go. This, yep, wrong one. Okay, I'm sorry for the dizzying ascension. Okay, I hope that you can see AI for Communicators, April
Yep,
25th.
we can see it.
Great. Okay, so this is the way that we generally present, and the concept is that instead of using PowerPoint, we find it more useful to create a website. This is the site, and I think that Christy's going to put it in the discussion board. I think it's useful. This is chock full of, a supersized meal of links and useful resources for you. So it's sites.google.com/view/AI-for-communicators. The home is usually superfluous in most browsers. So that's it. And my role today will be to set the foundation. I want to make sure that we all have an accurate understanding, perhaps not detailed, but an understanding of where we are and where we seem to be going. And then Catherine is going to provide wonderful resources that are of specific use to you by area. So I think that's really kind of the focus of what we're doing. So we hope to emphasize interaction. So we hope to leave 15 minutes, if possible, for answering questions. Well, the first one is a rather optimistic article from the end of last year saying artificial intelligence is not going to kill communication jobs. And a good point is made here. That is that communication is focused. It is that you will wrangle AI, among other resources, in order to put the message out if you're providing public information or if marketing and the like. But AI could make communications people even more productive and more important, even in the fields where AI will replace jobs. There still generally will be one or two or five or 10 supervisors of those AI initiatives. So just know that there's room, but you need to pay attention to the jobs and where they're going. The qualities that AI cannot currently replicate, are described in this article from Forbes, while adding that specific human touch, the EQ, which certainly AI is working on, but that we all have and we all can refine. So in this transformed landscape, winners will be not simply those who have the skills, but those who embody, as they describe here, the very essence of what it means to be human, adaptable, empathetic, and constantly evolving. So, that's my encouragement to you as well. How do we best get started and build expertise? One of the things that I recommend, if you're not doing it already, is to use AI every day. Get comfortable with it, not too comfortable because it's changing every week anyway. But the way that I found worked well for me was to integrate AI into my searches. And so you can get an extension in Chrome and most browsers where when you pose a search to Google, it will at the same time offer that search to your choice of AI chatbot. So you can have OpenAI, or you can have the Google app, or you can use any of a variety of resources to as the AI, and you can compare the results. Now, one of the things we'll learn, you perhaps have already learned, is that doing a Google search has made us very cryptic. We write a couple of words, three, we even drop out prepositions. We just put those keywords in, get the results like that. What is important with using AI is that we have anywhere from 500 words to over 1,000 to even more in some of the latest releases of LLMs, large language models, to describe and define just what we're looking for and what spin we're looking for in the responses. It is phenomenally effective. I put up here my half dozen favorites, and I'll just mention them. Google Gemini, and there's 1.5, and it continues to improve. It's available at AI.com. You can get a $20 a month version, which is an advanced version. Depending upon your uses, that may be worthwhile. Claude is excellent and has gotten some of the highest ratings on a kind of a very detailed scale. I'll just leave it at that without going into the details. Anthropic develops it, and it's interesting that one of the later apps provides Claude at no charge. Perplexity wants to be your new Google, as in Google search. And I've liked it from the beginning because it's a no nonsense, quick response, and it gives citations to every response. And because so much of what I do requires those citations, I find that really useful. Then U.com, which works with a range of large learning modules, language modules rather, and you'll find that useful. Claude 3 is right at the top of the rankings for detail and accuracy. And then Pi. If you haven't used Pi from Inflection, this is a wonderful resource. It is in part a social emotional agent and designed to reinforce positive attitudes to help people who have some distress. It's not a counselor that's going to solve all problems, but it can identify when you need professional help. So I find that particularly useful. And we in higher education look at it as a tool because some of our students are reluctant to seek help directly, counseling help. And this is that bridge that allows them to understand that there is assistance available to them. So those are the ones that I use most every day. Let's see. Something you're going to hear about is RAG with that inauspicious title. It is, in fact, Retrieval Augmented Generation. So I mention it because there's been a lot of concern about hallucinations, about accuracy, about fact checking, and this is a strategy that allows the LLM to develop a response to your prompt, and then it applies a few quick tools. Are we sure that's right? Should we show that? Shouldn't we? And so they're used individually in most of the above mentioned chatbots. And so I just want to relieve your mind that things are getting better. It doesn't go off the rails as easily as it did 6 months ago. And there are improved LLMs. And in fact, one of the important advancements now has to do with SLMs, small language models, and ones that actually run on your phone. And that's interesting because those that are phone-based, and some came out even today, that enables privacy. It's held to your phone. You don't put it up in the cloud. See, one of the problems when you do a search, let's say you took a database heaven forbid, but of personnel records, who's performing well and not. Well, when you enter that, it's in the cloud, and it could be vulnerable, probably is vulnerable to access by those who hack the databases of these large language models. So that's part of the challenge. And of course, there's an ongoing concern about copyright material and, and infringement of intellectual property rights. So we're seeing that development come about even now. The biggest development really on the horizon are AI agents. We've had them for almost a year. They were rather rudimentary in the beginning. They're getting better and better every week, every month. We're getting newer and newer AI agents. OpenAI promises that they will have agents available to users of GPT. It's possible it'll come out in GPT-5, which is likely to be released by this fall. Who knows? Maybe an hour ago. They're very secretive about when they release these. Nevertheless, Bill Gates wrote in his blog, AI agents will completely change how we use computers. And this is the concept. Right now, most of us think of generative AI as going to one of those I listed before or another, and chatbots, and you pose a question through a prompt, and maybe you ask it to do, give me more on this and this, and maybe write a little piece or create an image or do some audio, or now recently Sporo do a video based on my description. The difference with agents are that they're much more versatile. They're much more autonomous. So you can say, well, it's such a nice day. I want to go golfing. I told my boss I was going to finish the web page. Okay, I'm going to ask my agent, finish up this web page and release it. Wait an hour, then send the link to my boss. Take the responses, which I'm forwarding to you, make any additional changes, and meanwhile, call me if you have to when I'm out there on 6 or 8 or 9, but not on the 19th hole. Nevertheless, the whole concept is you've got an agent. Your agent has an IQ currently of above 145, has passed the interstate bar exam, has glowing scores on the graduate record exam, has all of these incredible abilities and facilities, and as we say in higher ed, doesn't even take spring break off, works around the clock, 24 hours a day and the like. So the differences are with chatbots, you create prompts, you ask the bot to provide you with information. You can ask most bots for citations, oftentimes good to put that at the beginning of your prompt. You can follow up on prompts to refine the results, and the results you receive for a given prompt may not be the same response you get an hour later, right? So know that the chat bot is assimilating new knowledge, new information, and provides different priorities to even the same prompt. Your prompt with agents, your prompt, you give it a task to accomplish. Accomplish this. The agent autonomously performs those tasks. And right now, there are even demonstrations of, you say, I want you to do this. And so you're going to have to call 5 faculty members in voice, use your best voice. We'll use a Christie voice and ask the questions, respond, take that information, of course, turn it into text and assimilate that into the report. So it can do that, make phone calls, receive phone calls. In many respects, the agent performs more like a person who can check back with you and seek advice and perform a multiple of duties. In brief, you become Captain Picard and you say, make it so. And that's your command to your agent. On the horizon are two things. Many of us have heard of AGI. It's coming very fast. There are a number of experts who believe it already runs. It's already here. And even we heard from Sam Altman, and then he said it was in jest, that AGI last year was achieved in the lab. And, it's a little amorphous what AGI is, but here's a definition. It's the representation of generalized human cognitive abilities in software. So faced with an unfamiliar task, the AGI system can find a solution. The intention of AGI is to perform any task that a human being is capable of. Well, we used to think that would come in 2050. Now, it either already happened or will occur in 24 or 25. And artificial superintelligence is the next step. Artificial superintelligence is a hypothetical software-based artificial intelligence system with an intellectual scope beyond human intelligence. At the most fundamental level, this superintelligent AI has cutting-edge cognitive functions and highly developed thinking skills more advanced than any single human. So those are enormously powerful, and power can be used for good and for evil. So, we're all well aware of that. These definitions available to you, it's a topic you may want to become familiar with. So that's really the context. We are on the cusp of AGI, also of artificial superintelligence, and where those take us, we don't yet know. So with that, let me see here. I may need to stop sharing just for a second. So I will get back. Here I am, and I'm going to mute my mic, and I'll reshare for Catherine Kirpin from Loyola University, who will take us through specific applications that we can use.
Hi, everyone. First of all, I want to say hello to the Mid-Illinois Communicators Association. I was looking in the chat at what you all do, and I'm so impressed with all of you. I'm so impressed with your organization, having worked with Christy on developing this and promoting this. She's wonderful. And Brandy, from your leadership, I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity. And I also want to echo something that Christy said. Working with Ray has been a true joy. He's a national treasure, an expert at the national level. And I met Ray about a decade ago during when I was working for another higher ed institution, and he was consulting us, making us better. And it was really the best. Having him enter my life was one of the best things that ever happened to me. So he's wonderful. And he's also the reason why I am currently doing research on AI. Without his urging and, without his kind of gentle getting me comfortable with it, I don't think I'd be as far as I am. So having said that, I want to let you know that, as Christy said, we kind of asked AI for some of the questions that you'd be interested in. And we put together this site, the second half of it here, with some practical applications and helpful links for you to start using AI in your everyday work. And those chatbots that Ray listed previously, I'm using those because of him. And I actually list them as sources here for some of these sections because I also used AI to research my material to put this together. So, and I'm just going to touch on these sections really briefly, but I invite you to kind of dig in and look through these resources as you get comfortable and up to speed on AI. So, the first area that we anticipate your questions are around personalizing content. And so AI can help us with that on the front end and the back end. And what I mean by that is because of its enhanced capability for computing large data sets, not only can AI kind of analyze the audiences that you're developing content for now more quickly, it can also then generate content for all those different audiences. So with regard to content creation, customer segmentation, personalization, predictive customer insights, and ad placement, I mean, AI has a place in all of those. And if you want to take a deep dive into these resources and learn a little bit more about that, that's something you can do on your own time at your leisure. You might ask, how do I stay on top of AI content tools? And that's really kind of a tough thing today. So in the resource here, I've got two groupings. So the second grouping is there's people who are aggregating all the tools coming around, but there's literally thousands that have been developed in the last year. And so you can use those aggregator links to kind of get a sense of the totality in the different categories. But then I also included at the top here some companies that have used content marketing to kind of give some more background on some AI tools. And I'm not endorsing any of these companies. I just did my own personal research and found these particular links helpful if you want to dive into them. And it'll list like 10 to 12 tools and how they're used during the writing process, during any kind of content generation or content enhancement. So that's kind of the second section here. And then another topic that that we discovered is very important to everyone is the topic of SEO, search engine optimization. And we all know that a number of different factors go into SEO, and they can include a website's speed, reading level, keywords you're using, that kind of thing. So this section breaks down, offers some tools, and really, this section reminds me that AI is being integrated into workflows in a number of different ways. So you have the consumer-facing bots, the list that Ray showed you, and that individuals can use, but you're also getting tools. So a lot of your tools that you're already using are incorporating AI features, some of them listed here. And that's going to happen over time. So maybe kind of look for those features. And then also thirdly, there are companies that are actually using LLMs and AI systems internally to enhance their business. Just today, I heard Coca-Cola is entering into a partnership. I believe it's with OpenAI to apply AI to all their internal company processes. So really, there's a number of different ways. And if any of you have influence at your company's IT department, maybe talk to them about, maybe some more sophisticated use cases that you can bring into the company to kind of more enhance your processes even more than the consumer facing and the software facing tools that are out there now. So this section goes into great detail about AI related to SEO work. The next section is related to ethical considerations. So, and this is really a multifaceted area. So you have the considerations around the data sets that were used to train the models and how biased or unbiased they are. You have the issue of copyright and, is using copyrighted works to train AI systems, is that an infringement of copyright? And that's something we're just going to have to discover, because that's going to come to the courts for teasing out. And finally, there's issues around indicating when you're using AI with your work, crediting it as a source, also, its potential for workforce displacement. So these are some ethical considerations around the use of AI. And again, I've offered some links and resources here. And finally, the last section, I did some research through Microsoft Copilot in this case to generate some resources for you that talk about how to incorporate AI into your workflows. I'm currently reading a book on AI by a professor. His name is Ethan Mollick, and he says that every job is sort of a bundle of tasks. And really, the challenge for you, if you choose to accept it, is to kind of figure out what that bundle is and sort of map the tools that are available to the different bundle of tasks and to see how you can use AI in the different aspects of your job. So he encourages people just to stop and think every day as they approach something, hey, maybe I can use AI to do this, and then test that, test and see if that works. So for example, some tests that I've done, I work on some publications and we have introductory content, and I kind of hate writing introductory paragraphs because they're kind of like filler sometimes. So I've generated a number of paragraphs through the different bots, and then I kind of picked and choose the sentences and the phrasing that I like most. And I came up with some really good introductory paragraphs. And I've used AI in so many ways. As a project manager, AI is now incorporated into Zoom, but I can also use a standalone product called Otter to take notes during my meetings, suggest follow-up tasks, generate transcripts, all kinds of stuff. So this last section is about incorporating AI into your workflows. And at the end here, it's 30 minutes long, so I'm not going to play it, but I encourage you to play this video. It's from a gentleman called Ben. His name is Ben Silverman, and he is a consultant helping content creators incorporate technology into their workflows. So this is kind of his jam, and he takes you through a long investigation about how in all kinds of content creation you can incorporate different AI tools. And he keeps this video up to date, and he also has a site where he curates a number of AI tools as well. So again, that's kind of a very quick run through of these different sections, but I highly encourage you to dive in, take a look at some of these things, and see how they can help you in your day-to-day work.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing all those resources too. Everyone's just going to definitely have to take some time trying and playing with the tools and seeing what works. If you have questions for Ray and Catherine, please put them in the chat. Beth, you asked a question about the AI getting smart. I don't know if you'd like to either come on microphone or camera and ask your question to Ray and Catherine.
Sure. I hear a lot of doomsday scenarios regarding AI, and I wonder, is that something to be concerned about? So when we use the tools, are we basically feeding the brain? And what's going to happen when it takes over? Is that something we really need to be concerned about, or is that science fiction?
I'll answer first, and I bet that Catherine will have some comments as well. First, sister, it's so good to see you, and questions as penetrating as ever. I don't think, I don't believe that doomsday is coming from this. Rather, an enlightened intelligence, all kinds of benefits in the medical field and so many other fields. So, it only can be a doomsday agent if we allow it to be that. And someone can use it for ill, but someone can use the Springfield Public Library for ill. It's a tool, it's an information tool, it's a creative tool. And yes, people can, are doing fakes, but then again, we had Photoshopped fakes before. So, yes, we have to be careful and cautious. One hopes that we can somehow raise um, the ethos of our society, and that I think is crucial. And if we are going to survive, or if it will be the demise, it won't be the demise. But if there is a demise of humanity, it won't be the tool that did it, but rather it'll be the individuals that misused that used it in inappropriate ways. So, yes, it's powerful. I would also add that historically, we've not denied technologies often in the past. And, to our horror, the atomic weaponry is one of those. And yet, certainly, we've shown some restraint in that regard, and one hopes that we continue to do so. Catherine, what are your thoughts?
I agree with you. And I think that the probability of unintended bad consequences is small, but it's not zero. And as you always say, Ray, this is kind of like the third or fourth industrial revolution. The benefit this time is that you have a lot of very powerful people looking at it as, okay, if we were to make the last industrial revolution better, now that we know what we know, let's kind of apply that knowledge to this and proactively make it better, or not as bad, if you will. So, I mean, I think the chances of something bad are not zero, but I think you've got the right important people thinking about it.
Catherine, I cannot skip this. So kindly, you mentioned the Industrial Revolution. Today, I have an article out. I have a column biweekly in Inside Higher Education. It should be available freely if I think there's a limit, 5 or 6, something a month. But looking back at the 4 industrial revolutions and their impact on education, and they were revolutionary, truly so. From an agrarian to an urban culture, and to factories from the farm, but also the most recent one, the internet, and going online learning and communication. There were jobs that were lost. There were, and we may get into that here, but jobs that were gained, and we advanced through that. So I'm an optimist, and I believe that we're going to use this for the benefit of all. Back to Christy, if there are questions.
Well, you did mention Photoshop, and that we've had AI in Photoshop for a while. Are there any resources on your list that we should definitely take a look at regarding that, or any advice about AI for image generation, video generation?
Well, I'll comment on it. I think that there are a number of image tools. One of the best comes through Bing, which is really OpenAI, the Microsoft connection with OpenAI. I really like Gemini. They got off to a bad start. That's Google, and have not yet fully recovered. But I think there's their product currently 1.5. I think Pro is a very good product that even I, who I'm generally not artistic, can get a good image in 5 minutes. I can describe, I can prompt, I want a realistic image of a miniature schnauzer, which has a warm spot in my heart for Humphrey, my own. But nevertheless, and I can get those and then say, oh, I want this, oh, I want, so that it is possible to use these tools to create images. And you can also, just as in writing, you can say, in the voice of Shakespeare, write a sonnet of this sort, or in the voice of Robert Frost, do this. But so you can do it in the style of a particular artist or photographer, etc.
I haven't done as much exploration of imagery with AI because I'm more of a word person, but I will say that I'll tackle it from kind of the novice and expert perspectives. So I use Canva, or I've used Canva in the past. It's a very user-friendly tool. They've already incorporated AI into their technology for image generation and image editing and even writing. So it's interesting. I think a lot of these features are going to come to our tools. And on the more expert side, so my daughter is a video editor. And I mean, she was a little concerned about AI encroaching her work, but it's only going to make her better. They're incorporating AI tools into their software that she uses, and it's starting to function like an assistant for her. So previously, she would have to pay or use an assistant to go through tons of footage. But now with these tools, she can rely on them to do a lot of these sort of lower level work and really concentrate her high level skills where they're needed most and thus be kind of more productive overall. So I don't know if that answers the question, but it kind of gives you a sense from the novice to the expert area where these things are being folded in.
Yeah, that's a really interesting perspective on that too, is, thinking about what levels of work it would help, help you so that you can spend your time on things that your direct skills are more needed for. And that reminds me, I was reading recently in a lot of news articles about how Wired put out like a company AI policy. So in, using it for writing and for video and graphics, do you think that it's important for, those of us that work in communications to try to help develop like a company AI policy? And do you have any tips for that?
Yeah, I do. Let me quickly, and then Catherine. Um, I'll mention Sorrow, which is a really, a stunning and only about a month old, which is a video app OpenAI provides that you describe a video scene, and now you've got a 60-second clip, a video clip, ready for YouTube or whatever. So the capabilities are here and they're changing every day. Um, and so I think it's important at all entities for which we might be employed, whether it be a public body or whether it be a non-governmental body or if it be a corporation, we ought to have a policy. And it ought to be broad enough to say the kinds of things like attribute everything. Make sure when it's something that you personally did not do, that you attribute to what tools you used, who, what provided that for and with you. I think, that's kind of a core ethical element. But then we want to look at, what we provide. So I think part of the policy should be what you provide to open LLMs, large language models, is you have to consider it public to the world, and it can be used by others. And there are horrendous examples of people who took the health records of their employees trying to develop a leave policy, and they put them out. So now they're available to hackers. There are just all kinds of challenges there. Catherine,
Was
additional
that Sora that you said, Sora by OpenAI? Brandy wanted
SORO, SORO.
SORO. Okay, great.
I
Thanks.
think it's O at the end. It might be Sora. I think it's O.
Thank you.
I'll look it up.
I completely agree with you, Ray. So at the university level, universities are approaching it they're all approaching it differently. Some universities say no AI for student use, in assignments. Some universities are just letting it rip. Personally, I was a little scared to tell my management that I was using AI for some things because I just was, you know what I mean? Were they expecting me to do all the work? But then more recently, I'm becoming a little more bold. And someone asked me to compare to, actually asked me to compare 4 different surveys, online surveys. And I used AI, and because I considered it somewhat of a lower level task in a way. And it did it in like 10 seconds. And I told my manager, I said, I use AI for this because I think it's at the level that I can do that. So I think that it's still forming. I do think every company should have policies for precisely the reason Ray mentioned. It's seductive to want to upload sensitive content to some of these consumer facing tools because you can now, but maybe it would be better to have a proprietary AI system down the road that's more closed, you know what I mean, before that kind of work is done. So I think yes, but I don't think we're there yet with regard to having developed policies. And I would say proceed with caution, or proceed wisely with this, and but do tackle the question of how are we going to be using AI in the future.
And I corrected on the discussion board, Sora, mea culpa. It is SORA. Ooh, there's
Great.
just so much to put in.
There's so many.
This looks like a large cranium. It's so much to hold. Thank you.
Well, and Catherine, what you just touched on, I can dovetail that into Brandy's question. Brandy, do you want to ask your question about our students and kids?
Yeah, thank you for that. So, do we need to worry about how AI is going to affect students and educators? I mean, I have 13-year-old girls, and they recently told me about a tool that lets you take a photo of your homework, and the internet will help you find answers. I just wonder how educators are going to navigate this and know, when it's the student's own thoughts or when it's something that has been AI generated.
Well, I mean,
Catherine, do you want to start? Yes.
yeah, I think it's incumbent on educators to a certain extent to embrace it and use it as a tool for teaching. Because, I mean, Ray often makes the analogy that, like, the calculator. Okay, people still learn math. They learn the fundamentals of math, but now they're using calculators, and the brain skills haven't eroded. It's just you need a little more diligence from instructors to focus on the fundamentals. Same with carpenters now use saws and electric saws, but it's still, if there is attention to the fundamentals of something, then it can really enhance your learning. And you can do things like at the university level, instructors are telling students to use AI and then evaluate the output. And that's where you really can use a lot of really good critical thinking skills. And I'll stop there. I'll let Ray jump in at this point.
Thank you. And yeah, so a couple of points. One, which gets back to a wonderful piece that Catherine wrote. But let me begin by saying the problem comes with lazy educators. And I say that after 46 years as a professor. It's pedagogy. We have to use authentic assessment, authentic learning, and we're not doing that. It's easier to do an ABCD, kind of response, and it's just laziness on the part of educators to adapt to the technology. And it's ironic that we leaped on that first in education. Oh, it's wrong because they're going to cheat. Well, they're not going to cheat if you pose real life problems. There's no way to cheat. You want to look at the critical thinking, creative thinking process. And that's true across the curriculum. So, if there are problems in that regard, it's the problem of the faculty member, the instructor, the teacher, not putting effort into this. Well, one of the things that, as we looked at the future, and we were co-authoring, in fact, an article, Catherine did an important piece about a vision of what we might see for kind of a personal learning agent. And I'll give you that opportunity to talk about it.
Sure. So you can imagine an agent that's personalized to you. It knows your learning style. So for me, I'm a visual learner. I have an IQ of whatever. I have a background that is more in verbal skills, and so it can take in all this information about me, and then suggest for me, if I'm a kid, activities for learning certain things that I have to learning certain competencies. It can suggest to me like a high school that might be good for me, or a program, or then a major, or and then professional education. So I can imagine a lifetime learning assistant that really knows you very well can challenge you. Do you really want to take that calculus course, Kathy? I would recommend you take some, finite math first. So I mean, I could imagine an agent in this area, maybe even also in our personal lives, in all kinds of different arenas, using AI to kind of help us personalize and optimize our own lives.
Great, thank you. I got served an article yesterday from The Atlantic, and it really caught my eye. The headline is "The End of the Web as We Know It." And it says that AI is threatening to destroy the complex ecosystem that writers, artists, and creators use to reach human audiences. What happens next? And I've, been reading too about, how Google is reformulating because Google wants to keep you on Google, right? I mean, that's how they make money selling, ads, and they just want to keep you there as long as possible. And that's where most people go to search. But, for those of us who write for keywording and SEO, or who do paid ads, run paid ads for like either KEO or display ads, how do you see all that changing?
Radically. I think it's going to change, certainly in the next 5 years. Fulfillment, totally, I think, within 10. You're not going to be able to buy Google Words. I mean, words that will target your advertising. Those are just a thing of the past, because this is individually served up, and it isn't dependent upon us generating pages, but rather it collects a mosaic that goes back to the first browser, for those who don't recall 40 years ago or whatever, 30. But a mosaic of information, words, and images that are far different than the way we're creating web pages now. So we just have to be alert to it, and we have to just slowly move with it. As it moves forward, we need to adapt.
I would agree with that as well. I mean, I think there is going to be indexing of pages maybe in the background. It's going to serve as a foundation for a container, maybe the container would be front facing, like Perplexity tool. It actually does the searching and the crawling for you, and the output is a summary of all the hits it got and what that means for you, and all the links to all the resources. But this is a tool that will just tell you, it will speak to you, I found this, and it'll summarize everything. So, I mean, to some extent, it is going to be evolving and morphing, and we just have to kind of go along with it for the ride.
Well, thank you so much for sharing so much information. It's a lot to absorb, but we have your resource links, and I think that's going to be a great tool for us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ray and Catherine, for facilitating, this eye-opening discussion on AI. I know you've given me a lot to think about, and I now am going to use this every single day in some way, shape, or form. Just a little bit. Start out small. Now, I think Christy has a poll. Christy, were you going to put a poll up for us?
Yeah, I'm just going to launch a poll really quick just to help us get ideas for topics for the future, or, what level of information is helpful for you. So let me launch this one. I'll just leave it up for a couple seconds. If you guys could let us know if this was, this information is the level that is helpful for you, and drop some other topics that you'd like to see in the future. Helps us to plan moving forward. Our little internal AI.
Thank you so much for the opportunity for the two of us to share with you. This is an adventure. We're all on the same boat. Whether it's the Titanic or the Queen Mary, we'll find out.
Yeah,
For
thank you
sure.
so much. Thanks for joining us. I feel very thankful that you were able to do this for us.
Thank you so much.
And thank you.